Well, let me just say, the vast majority of financial advisors and insurance agents just don't understand how Social Security works. I talk to advisors all day long, Dean, and I ask them some really simple questions, and they're not able to answer those questions, and thus they just don't have the knowledge and education to help their clients. They don't understand how benefits are calculated. They don't understand how to obtain credits if you might be short a few to get up to your 40. They just lack basic knowledge about Social Security. Jim?
I agree with that 100%. They certainly understand about the financial world, but Social Security is such a huge part of people's income and retirement.
Starting your route to retirement.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dean Barber, founder and CEO of Barber Finance Group, your host of the Guided Retirement Show, backed by popular demand. Marc and Jim Blair. We're going to be talking about Social Security claiming strategies. And, you know, I've been talking about this now for over a decade, and it still surprises me that so many people think that the date that they should claim their Social Security is synonymous with the date that they retire. There is 100,000 reasons why you should stick around for this episode, take notes, and after the show, in the show notes, you'll find a link where you can get a complimentary consultation from one of our certified financial planners to help you make sure that you get the Social Security claimed properly and take advantage of those 100,000 reasons. Enjoy. Back here on the Guided Retirement Show, Marc and Jim Blair. I would say you guys are somewhat of Social Security experts. You guys had joined us in a previous season, and one of the most downloaded episodes of the Guided Retirement Show. Marc, welcome back.
Thank you, Dean. Glad to be back.
All right.
Kansas City is my second home.
Well, and I understand you're going to be coming to Kansas City sometime soon. Let's get Jim on the line here real quick to get Jim welcome back. Jim, welcome back.
Well, thanks. Glad to be here, and always happy to talk about Social Security.
Yes,
my favorite topic.
It is a crazy, interesting topic. So just for our listeners, the people that are watching on YouTube, let's start, Jim, with you. Your background. Talk to our listeners about why you're passionate about Social Security, how you came to work with Marc and what it is that you guys are doing.
Sure. Well, just to give you an idea, I worked for the Social Security Administration for 35 years and did a number of jobs while I was there. Started off as a service representative. That's a smiling face you see when you walk in the front door. But those folks generally help people who are already receiving benefits. Maybe they need to change their address, they were overpaid, have some kind of issue, missing checks, that kind of thing. Moved to the claims taking end of it, was a claims representative for 10 years, took claims for retirement, survivors, disability, and health insurance, and then moved into the management part and spent the last 9 years as the district manager of the Piqua, Ohio office. Now, probably most everybody out there is going, what the heck is a Piqua, Ohio? But nice little rural community, about 30 miles north of Dayton. Just kind of points out that regardless of where you're at, there's probably a Social Security office fairly close. Should you need to visit, it's the most accessible government office out there. But after 35 years, I did decide to retire, hang it up, and I had to find something to do. And as it turns out, I lucked out. My nephew knew Marc. Marc happened to ask him who he asked his Social Security questions of, and he mentioned me, and I was getting ready to retire. So we got together and discussed it, and decided we were going to start working with people, couples, individuals, and helping them figure out their strategies, when best to file, how to maximize their Social Security benefit. And we've been doing that since 2010, but we also morphed into an education company. We also educate financial advisors, CPAs, insurance agents about Social Security. We talk to anybody who's willing to listen about Social Security, whether it's helping individuals figure out when's the best time to apply, or helping advisors determine the Social Security maze and how they can kind of work through it with their clients.
All right, Jim, perfect. And it's exciting that you're doing this as a former employee of the Social Security Administration. And, it just goes to show that when we started talking about this on our radio program, America's Wealth Management Show, all the way back in 2008, there was nobody really talking about the fact that the average couple at 62 years old is going to have north of 600 different iterations on how they can claim their Social Security. There have obviously been some law changes since that point in time, but it's still super complex, and still the proper Social Security claiming strategies can add, $80, $90, $100,000 or more of additional lifetime income to someone's pocket with the exact same earnings history and the exact same life expectancy using in those assumptions. So, now, Mark, let's jump to you real quick here. Mark, you're a CPA, and so not a Social Security expert. So talk to us. How did this whole friendship with Jim and this business get started? And from a CPA's perspective, were you getting questions from your clients? Is that what happened? And that's why you started saying, I need to know, because I don't know. Okay, go for it.
I have been doing taxes for about 30 years, and I was getting more and more questions about Social Security. I did not know who to go to for answers. So I thought I would offer Social Security consulting services in my accounting practice. So, Dean, in 2008, I ran out to the bookstore. I don't think Amazon was around at that time. I bought 3 books on Social Security. I read them cover to cover. I ended up with more questions than answers. It's difficult to learn Social Security from a book. And I had issues. There's no doubt I did. So like Jim said, one day I was in a local restaurant called the Rusty Bucket, kind of like TGIF nationwide. And I asked this attorney, somebody I'd known for about 10 years, if he knew anybody who could educate me about Social Security. He told me his uncle worked for the Social Security Administration, and his uncle was going to retire a few months later. His uncle ended up being my partner, Jim Blair. It wasn't easy, Dean, getting Jim to agree to join me. He turned me down a couple times, but I think either I wore him out or he saw that there was not much on TV during the daytime.
Well, most CPAs aren't that good of a salesman, Mark. So, Jim, how did that happen? How did he get you talked into it?
Well, my plan was to retire and go fishing. We decided to start this company in the middle of winter when it's too cold to fish. And as Mark mentioned, I tell people all the time, daytime TV is there to punish people that don't work. So and I had to find something to do. What do I know? That's pretty much all I know is Social Security. And I always felt that people need the knowledge in advance before they apply so they can make the right decision. It's a lifetime benefit. The worst decision you're going to make, while it isn't terrible, you're still going to receive those benefits for the rest of your life. It can affect what you're going to receive. It can affect what your spouse would receive if they survive you. Maybe there's children involved, ex-spouses. So there's all sorts of little niches here and there that people need to think about, and they don't necessarily know that. And we want to make sure that they do.
Well, I think it's powerful. And so here's the interesting thing. Even though I've been talking about Social Security claiming strategies now for almost 13 years on my radio show that's airing in cities across the country, we've also done podcasts before. And the episode you guys were on prior is episode 34. So if anybody wants to go back and either watch that on YouTube or check it out on your favorite podcast app, episode 34. The thing is that I still see most people, the vast majority of people, thinking that the day that they claim their Social Security is synonymous with the day that they retire. In other words, they just think, well, I'm retiring now, I should go claim my Social Security now. And in a very few cases, that's the right decision, but in so many cases, there's a better decision that can be made. And so now you guys are educating not just the consumer, you're trying to educate financial advisors. So I want you to talk to me about what you find surprising as you start to educate financial advisors and insurance guys and CPAs, etc.
Well, let me just say, the vast majority of financial advisors and insurance agents just don't understand how Social Security works. I talk to advisors all day long, Dean, and I ask them some really simple questions, and they're not able to answer those questions. and thus they just don't have the knowledge and education to help their clients. They don't understand how benefits are calculated. They don't understand how to obtain credits if you might be short a few to get up to your 40. They just lack basic knowledge about Social Security. Jim?
I agree with that 100%. They certainly understand about the financial world, but Social Security is such a huge part of people's income and retirement. Even though it never was meant to be anyone's sole source of income in retirement, it's about 40% of your income. But what folks don't understand, and the financial advisors really, I think, don't think about it, the more you can make that percentage your income in retirement, the less stress it puts on your other types of income.
Yeah.
So they're likely to last longer.
And the other part of it that really surprises me, and this will be more from maybe financial advisors, insurance people, but definitely from the general public, is they don't understand how Social Security is taxed. Most people they think, well, what do you mean I have to pay taxes on my Social Security? Well, you don't unless you disqualify yourself. And they say, well, how do I disqualify myself? And I'll say, well, you have too much provisional income. And that's a special calculation. Mark knows all about that, right? But, people think income is income and it's money that I can put in my pocket or my bank account and I can go spend it. But I think there's an awful lot of confusion about how Social Security is taxed. And I think that if a person doesn't combine the knowledge of how Social Security is taxed along with the Social Security claiming strategies, they're only getting to half of the equation. And Mark, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as a CPA, because if you do a Social Security strategy that by the numbers says this is the right Social Security claiming strategy, but it messes up something on the tax side of things, it could be a worse decision, and you didn't know it because you didn't look at the tax side of it.
Dean, you can also look at it from the other point of view too. Somebody taking Social Security benefits now has an opportunity to take a distribution from an IRA or an annuity. And now that distribution from the annuity or the IRA may now cause a taxable event relating to their Social Security benefits. Now they may be paying tax on up to 85% of their benefits. And I used to do taxes. There was a lady, her name was Carolyn. And this was her situation. She would take modest distributions from her annuity and be paying tax on 85% of her benefits now. She was not a happy camper. And, if you have Jim's luck, you go down the boat, you win $20,000. Now you're paying tax on the $20,000, Dean, plus maybe up to 85% of your Social Security benefits. And you're right, though. If you're receiving Social Security, that could also have an impact on the taxes that you pay on your other assets, because it could throw you into a higher tax bracket. 85% is a pretty large percentage of your benefits to be subject to income tax. There's no doubt.
Right. Well, you could spin it the other way too, Mark.
You got up to the CPAs.
You could spin it the other way, and you could say, well, at a very minimum, 15% of your Social Security is going to be tax-free, and you could be really happy about that. But the bottom line is that the different types of income in retirement don't play nice together. And if you don't understand how all the different types of income are taxed, we talk about your dividends, your capital gains, qualified dividends, of course, that can be tax-free unless you cause those to be taxable. Claiming Social Security could start to cause some of those capital gains or dividends that were previously tax-free now all of a sudden to become taxable, then causing part of the Social Security to become taxable. And you get into that scenario where you might have a $1,000 withdrawal out of an IRA that you think, well, I'm in the 15% bracket, and all of a sudden you owe 40% on that $1,000 or more, and it's just this snowball compounding effect of one thing that wasn't taxable before. That distribution made that taxable, made more Social Security taxable, etc. And it's just like, wow, how did this happen?
Well, we're going to make all of your listeners feel a lot better, right, Jim? How does Social Security talk about taxation and benefits?
Well, Social Security doesn't like to talk about taxation and benefits, but they do like to tell you that only 85% of it is subject to federal income tax. A few states, there are some states out there that actually tax it. Most don't, but there are a few that do.
And 13 states will tax your benefits. The other 37 states plus the District of Columbia won't tax any of your benefits. I had to bring out my fingers to do that math.
So let's talk about how I think obviously we've made the point that for the average couple, you're going to have north of 600 different iterations on how you can claim, right? That's first of all, it's critical to know. Making the right decision is crucial. And Mark, just as you said, hey, how you can't understand Social Security by reading a book. You're not going to understand how to claim your Social Security by reading a book or visiting a website. And so let's talk about this idea that everybody's in a different situation, and that even though you may have two couples that had the same earnings history and had the same life expectancy, their claiming decisions could be different based on other financial circumstances. So, Jim, you want to tackle that one?
Well, that's exactly right. And they need to look at all their sources of income. But when do I start my Social Security? Just because I'm 62, it's not time to apply. We need to look at all the factors that are going to enter into that. What you were talking about before, the taxes. If you have a lot of income and you can delay your Social Security, that's going to help with that tax liability. But at the same time, your Social Security is going to grow. So it's kind of you get a double bounce from that by delaying your benefits in many cases. You're going to want to look at how important the survivor benefit is for each couple. It may not be so important with couple A because they've taken care of it through other means, but couple B may be leaning real hard on Social Security when one survives the other. And you need to understand when you file affects those benefits. You need to think about that before you apply, not later, because then it's too late. I also like couples to look at Social Security as a household income. Now, I know technically Social Security is a personal income. My Social Security belongs to me. My spouse's Social Security belongs to her. But we need to look at it as household income when we're trying to decide when each of us should file. So we may file independently of each other. And that may be with couple A, they both file at the same time. Maybe they both file at their full retirement age. It could have couple B where, particularly if there's a little difference in their ages, one files at 62, brings money into the household, lets the older individual, higher earning individual, delay their benefit and get a higher benefit amount, which, as I was mentioned before, affects the survivor benefit. So there's all sorts of different things for everyone to take into consideration. Doesn't happen a lot, but a lot of couples out there, they have disabled children or maybe a minor child. They're going to be eligible for benefits too. So we have to factor everything in when we're trying to decide what's best for this couple or this specific individual.
As you're saying all these things, Jim, that I can just see the people out there that are watching on YouTube or listening. They're thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to figure all this out? I mean, this is so complicated. You know what? I don't feel like taking that much effort. I'm just going to go claim. I'm just going to go file. And I think that happens far more often than what any of the three of us want to admit, because we are passionate about it. We love it. We know that there's an amazing difference in getting this decision right versus just going and claiming your Social Security when you think you need the income, because there may be other ways to get the income that you need that will be more beneficial for your financial health over the long term. So, Mark, how do you look at this from a CPA's perspective? And let's go circle back to those, all the taxes and things that we talked about. And then how do you, as a CPA, talk to somebody about making sure that they get this right and the importance of it?
There are 76 million baby boomers out there, Dean. Folks born between 1946 and 1964. So there are 76 million different situations that of people out there. And that's why when we teach our class, we really do emphasize situational Social Security, because everybody will be in a unique situation. And like Jim said earlier, There are other types of income streams will have a major impact on when they should begin their Social Security benefits. About 30% of folks actually begin benefits around at age 62. So it's a very low percentage to begin with. However, though, only about 4% of people wait to age 70. And I wish that was more people, because we really want the husbands, assuming the husband is the higher earner and assuming he's going to pass away earlier, we really do want the husbands, Dean, to wait until age 70 if he can. This way, now we're maximizing benefits to a wife upon his death. Not only to a wife, but maybe he's leaving behind some young kids under the age of 18 or 19, or like Jim said, a disabled adult child. If he waits to age 70, now we're maximizing benefits to the disabled adult child or the other children, and also to the wife. We did an extreme analysis for a client about 3 years ago, Andrew and Luann. Andrew is 24 years older than Luann, and they have two kids.
Wow.
So here we had to factor in, what type of surviving spouse benefits he may be leaving to her upon his death, because no doubt she's going to collect the surviving spouse benefit, probably more likely than her collecting her own retirement benefit. And also the kids, children under the ages of 18 or 19, Dean, are eligible for a benefit off upon the passing of a parent, or when a parent begins their own retirement benefits or disability benefits. So we had to factor in young kids and a 24-year age difference between spouses. And, you mentioned somebody could have maybe, I think then you said 600 or so different types of options that could be listed
right.
For somebody. We don't look, when Jim does an analysis, we don't really look at 600 options. That would take him a little long to do that. But no, in our mind, a married couple, Dean, would have maybe 10 to 12, maybe 10 to 15 options that we want to talk to them about. Waiting to age 70, claiming at 62. Taking 62 may not always be a bad decision. Like Jim alluded to earlier, and this is what we talked about in our class. If a wife is eligible for her own benefits, many times a really nice strategy would be for the wife to take her benefits early at age 62. She'll take a reduction. That might allow the husband to wait until full retirement age or age 70 to claim his benefits. And let's take it one step further. There's a magic birth date out there, Jim, isn't there?
For sure is. January 1st of 1954.
You got to be born before that date, right?
Yeah. If he was born by that date, 1/1/54, he could file a restricted application, file for spousal benefits off his wife, while at the same time his benefits are growing, earning those delayed retirement credits. Who in their right mind would know that? Nobody.
Right.
But
if they, when did that change?
Unless they met with a firm like yours, an educated advisor.
That changed in 2013 or 14. Is that when they took that away?
2015. November 2nd,
okay.
2015.
Yeah.
President Obama signed the 2015 Bipartisan Budget Act. And that strategy, restricted application, is still available to about 40% of our clients. So when you file for benefits off a spouse while your benefits grow, earning delayed retirement credits. But Jim, that's going to be phased out completely pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, in a couple of years, by the end of 2023, then nobody's going to be eligible to take advantage of it. They're already going to be age 70 or older and have aged out, but
right.
It's just about gone. But there are still folks who can take advantage of it, and those that can definitely should, if it's to their advantage.
Right. It's just not as prevalent as what it once was back when we really started digging into this deeper. I want to talk a little bit about cost of living increases on Social Security and how people are factoring that when they're doing their planning. And if they're just using their own Excel spreadsheet and they're trying to say, well, I'm going to get a cost of living increase, I can go back and I look at 2.7% is the average cost of living increase for Social Security. So they start putting that in. But what they're forgetting about is the increase in their Medicare premiums that typically eats up the majority of that cost of living increase. And so people wind up finding themselves with a Social Security check that's very stagnant once they reach Medicare age. So which one of you wants to tackle that? You want to do that one, Jim or Mark?
The big guy.
The big guy, okay.
That's a good point. We look at the cost of living, and that's great. My check's going up, but also my Medicare will go up as well. And particularly among folks who aren't up at the very top, oftentimes it'll take all of it or darn near all of it anyway. And so while you got a cost of living increase, it does help with the Medicare. That's certainly an important thing for people age 65 or older. That's your health insurance, and to be able to pay for that and not really digging more into your wallet to pay for it because the cost of living increase is going to cover it is a good thing. But your spending dollar, the amount of that dollar that you have to buy things, it's like you said, it's going to remain stagnant, or maybe in some cases even drop a little bit. Just the power of that dollar in itself.
Yeah, you're losing purchasing power, right?
To delay as long as you can, to take your benefit, to make that as high as possible. That doesn't mean everybody should wait till 70, but you should wait as long as possible to begin your benefit.
Now, Jim, Mark, I want to go back to you, and I want to talk a little bit about the tax allocation that a person has. And you're pretty rare in the CPA world where you'll actually get into this and you'll understand that most CPAs are simply preparing taxes. Most CPAs aren't doing the type of planning work that you're doing. I know that because we employ CPAs here in our organization, and with the planning work that they do is super rare as well. But the tax allocation, or I'll call it tax diversification, how much has a person saved in their taxable account versus tax deferred versus tax free, to me, that has a big weighing factor on what Social Security claiming strategy somebody should use. Do you look at all that, Mark, when you're taking a person through this process of really coaching them on how to claim their Social Security?
Well, let me go back. I want to mention something Jim talked about when it comes to COLA. We're expecting a fairly sizable COLA adjustment this year. It could be in the 4% range versus 1.3% last year. So it's going to be significantly higher. I saw there's a gallon of gas in Cincinnati for $3.15. Thank goodness I drive a hybrid. Dean, let me tell you how we do an analysis in our firm. It's different probably from how you handle Social Security analysis. I know you really want to get into the tax, which is really good. When we do an analysis, we will look at Social Security benefits on a pure cash flow basis. So how much is coming in on a monthly basis? And we will also talk about the present value analysis, because sometimes it's better to take your funds earlier. That might be another option than waiting. You take your funds earlier, that increases the present value analysis, and that's many times better than just a pure cash flow. When it comes, when it comes to the taxation and allocation between different buckets of income, we leave that up to the client's tax preparer to help us through that process.
Okay.
Because we really do concentrate on the Social Security benefits, and because a lot of the clients come to us from CPAs, and we don't want to step onto their shoes or into their shoes when it comes to helping clients with their Social Security benefits.
Right. Okay, so the reason,
even though I'm a CPA, it's just we take a different viewpoint, and that's why we bring in other advisors to help us when needed. Okay,
yeah. The reason I say that we think that's critical is because in my 33 years as a financial advisor and CEO of Barber Financial Group, and I've trained all of my advisors and CPAs this way, is that we have to focus on cash flow. So you're focused on cash flow, we're focused on cash flow, right? But I want to make sure that we're focusing not just on a portion of the cash flow, because what we know is that the only thing that a person can spend is what's left over after Uncle Sam takes their piece. And so if we know that a Social Security claiming strategy might individually look one way, let's plug it into the overall plan. Let's see if it really works. Did it give us the intended benefit, or was there an adverse consequence on the tax side of things? Now, it's a much deeper dive. Those analyses take us, a few hours for every individual that we're doing that for. But to me, it's well worth it, because at the end of the day, what I want to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, the way that you're going to claim your Social Security is this, and here's what it's going to do to your overall net spendable income for the next 25 years through your retirement based on these assumptions, right? And so we're doing the same thing, Mark. I think we're just approaching it slightly different. The bottom line is, there aren't very many people doing it, and there needs to be more people doing it, which is why you guys are putting together your training programs to train financial advisors and CPAs and insurance people. What I don't want to have happen, though, is for people that are an insurance salesman or an annuity salesman or something like that use this Social Security claiming strategy as some sort of a gimmick to allow them to sell more products, because I think that can kind of take away from the real benefit of looking at this from a fiduciary standpoint and making sure that we're always doing what's in the best interest of the individual.
And Dean, that's why we also look to the other advisors of the clients that we get.
Yeah.
Many times they already have financial advisors, insurance agents, and tax professionals. And so we will work with them to come up with the best solution for their clients.
Which is critical, right? And it takes everybody working together.
Extremely critical.
It really does take everybody working together. Okay, so you also had mentioned in our pre-show discussions that there's some redesigned Social Security statements. What do people need to be on the lookout for there in the redesign of the Social Security statement?
Well, it's being cut down from 4 pages to 2 pages. And it's only available to a select number of folks that have online accounts. There are 55 million online Social Security accounts. Some of them are now seeing the redesigned 2-page format. And one of the changes is the fact that under the older version, Social Security would show your benefits at 3 different ages: at age 62, at your full retirement age, and at age 70. Now they're showing benefits every year from age 62 all the way up to age 70. And they're also showing that in a bar format, which is a little easier to understand and to analyze. So you're getting benefits from age 62, 63, 64, all the way up to age 70 versus just age 62, full retirement age, and age 70.
Interesting.
But it's only right now being illustrated and given to some people who have online accounts. Dean, do you have an online account?
I do not. But I might have to set that up.
Please do so.
Yeah.
Yes. Just go to ssa.gov, set up an online account, join 55 million folks that have online accounts. Now, they've made it easier, Dean, to set up an online account, and I'm glad you've waited, because when we were with you last time, folks had to answer a series of security questions that came off for their credit report, and those questions really screwed a lot of people up, and they couldn't get past them.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot easier, Dean. So by you waiting, it made a whole lot of sense.
Well, I've helped.
What you need to do now is indicate where your driver's license came from, what state, and the driver's license number. What could be easier than that? It's a 10-15 minute process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've helped a lot of people go on and set up their online account, but I've not done my own. So you're right. Back the way it was before. I didn't realize they had updated it, so that's a good deal.
Well, Dean, you were waiting, and now I understand why. You were waiting for an easier way to. Yes,
that's it. I was actually clairvoyant. I knew this was coming. Right.
Great job.
when somebody goes to file their Social Security, we're getting to a point where more and more things we want to just do online. Let's hop on the computer and let's file our Social Security there. Not all of the claiming strategies that can be done really are laid out well enough to do that online. Some people still need to go in and talk to somebody at the Social Security Administration to especially if they have a special way that they want to claim. Jim, you want to speak to that?
Well, there's some benefits you can apply for online. Online, you can file for retirement, disability, or spousal benefits, but you cannot apply for a survivor benefit, widows, widowers, or children's benefits. If you have a deceased spouse in your past, and that's the type of benefit you're going to apply for, you have to do that through the Social Security Administration. A lot of times people don't want to apply online, but even if you do, if, like you haven't created your account yet, you cannot apply online. You have to have that account created through SSA.gov to file an application online. If you're going to apply online, I do like it. You can do it when you're ready. It's pretty much 24/7. There's a few times it's shut down when they're working on the website, but that's the way all websites are. But pretty much 24/7. You can do it when you're ready. And when you apply, say you apply today, your application shows up at the local Social Security office tomorrow. It comes in their overnight computer traffic. So it's a great way to apply. But the thing about it, and I think you alluded to this a little bit, is that you have to know what it is you want to do. You're not talking to anybody. You've already decided what type of benefit and when is the best time for you to file, and you're doing the application online. If you have questions at all, you're going to need to call the Social Security office at the moment. Eventually, you'll be able to go in and talk to a claims representative and get a little bit of knowledge. But the big problem with that, they're not allowed to talk to people about their filing options. Their assumption is that people are smart, they have access to the internet, they know about their savings, their Social Security. You'll pick the best time that's right for you. So if you say, I'm ready to file for benefits, then you're ready to file for benefits. And that may be true. And there may be other benefits that you're not eligible for, or that you're eligible for, they're not talking about because you didn't bring it up. That restricted application for those folks born January 1st of 1954 or earlier, or maybe you have a deceased spouse in your past, and instead of taking on your own, you can apply for the deceased spouse benefits and receive that and save your own till later, or vice versa. I used to say that one was covered pretty well, and then I saw an inspector general report that says that they're not doing such a good job with that anymore. So people are responsible for themselves. I wouldn't depend on, and I'm not beating up on the folks I used to work with. There's still a lot of good people that work there. But you need to do your homework yourself.
Yeah, Jim,
a major issue.
I was going to say
a major issue is, when Jim worked there were 85,000 employees. Recently, they had 65,000. So 20,000 people like Jim Blair walking out the door, 35-year veteran to the system. And so if you go down there and say, hey, I've heard about this restricted application. Is this available to me? They're going to look at you like a deer looks in the headlights.
Yeah, I don't know.
A really big myth is people think they can get the right advice and guidance from Social Security. That's just not going to happen.
Right. And I was chuckling to myself the whole time Jim was talking, because we've had multiple times where we would say, okay, here's the strategy that we want you to use. And especially when we would do a restricted application back in the day, and we'd send people down to the Social Security office, and they'd get mad and they'd call me and they said, I can't do this. I'm like, well, you haven't talked to the right person yet, because you can. And so what I found out was, I was doing a workshop one time on Social Security, and I had a gal that was taking feverish notes at the front of the class, and we finished up the class, and she sat there and kept taking notes and kept writing stuff down, and everybody left, and she says, Dean, she goes, I didn't want to say anything. She said, but I work for the Social Security Administration. I've never heard of the stuff you're talking about. I don't think it's right. And I said, well, and then this was all the way back in 2009, Jim. And so I said, well, I said, appreciate it if you go back and do some research, because I know I'm right. And so she called me back a couple of days later, and she goes, oh my gosh, she says, I cannot believe that I didn't know any of this stuff. And you were right, but I had to get up to such a high level of somebody who actually knew what you were talking about. She said, what I figured out is that we all get put into this little box, and this is the stuff that you're going to do for people right here. And that's all the more they teach us. And so we don't know all of this. And so I think it's excellent that people have to understand that's not where you go to get your advice. That's where you go to file for your benefits, and that's it.
I like that, Dean. Like that a lot. Great way of saying it.
Yeah, your advice needs to come from the professionals who have taken the time to truly understand what's the right Social Security claiming strategy for you. And I applaud Mark, Jim, you guys for continuing to get the word out, to continuing to educate the consumer, continuing to educate the financial advisory community. And I appreciate you guys taking time to spend with us here on the Guided Retirement Show. Any parting thoughts, anything else that you think we missed on today's program?
I think I'll comment, Jim, then I'll let you throw in your 2 cents. People just need to give a lot of consideration to how and when they want to claim their benefits. Just don't rush down to Social Security when you're 62. Take a hard look at it. Everybody's situation is so completely different. And that's why we educated advisors across the country so they can become better advisors to clients. And Dean, let me ask you a question. What's the universal language to connect with baby boomers? What do you think it is?
Universal language, money.
Social Security. They all have Social Security questions.
Social Security spends well too, but yes, you're right. They do have Social Security, and they should have, right? It's complicated.
Mm-hmm. They should. Jim?
Yeah, and people plan for everything. They'll plan for their weddings. They'll plan for vacations. Maybe they plan for divorce. Who knows? But we're always planning for what we're going to do. Well, Social Security is a lifetime benefit. You're going to receive it the rest of your life. Sometimes it's a dual lifetime benefit, because if your spouse steps into your shoes, they'll receive that benefit the rest of their lives. So why not take an hour or two, maybe 3, whatever it takes, to figure out in advance, what is the best thing for me to do with this money? Yeah, it's not just a piddly amount of money. A married couple, by the time it's all said and done, can receive over $1 million in benefits, depending on their life expectancy.
Yep.
That's a lot of money. You want to make sure that you plan it right so that it's your money. It's an entitlement from the perspective that it's your money, you paid into it. You're entitled to receive it. And you're entitled to receive it at the best possible strategy for you and your spouse. And you need to plan to do that.
Yeah, I'll give one last parting thought here, and then we'll let you gentlemen get on with what you're doing here. But here's the way I look at it. And Jim, you sparked my thought here. It is your money. Think about this. You made a deposit out of every dollar you earned. You made a deposit into the Social Security trust fund, if you want to call it that. And your employer made a dollar for dollar match into that. Imagine if all of that money that you put into Social Security and that dollar for dollar match that your employer made for you were in your 401k plan or your 403b plan or your TSP plan, and that was your money. That is really the way that I want people to think about their Social Security, because it is your money. And how you claim it is going to dictate how much you're going to get back out of it. So critical. Guys, thanks so much for being part of the Guided Retirement Show here, and we'll do this again sometime in the future, because this subject isn't going away.
Thank you, Dean. We had a great time. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we appreciate being on here. Thanks, Dean.
Okay, Jim, Mark, take care. Thanks again for being with us here on the Guided Retirement Show. Make sure and check out the show notes for a link where you can request a complimentary consultation with one of our certified financial planners to help you make sure that you claim your Social Security the right way. Make sure you share this with all of your friends and relatives. Everybody needs to know Social Security is not synonymous with the date that you retire. It's complicated, and there's a lot at stake here.
Starting your route to retirement.
Investment advisory services offered through Barber Financial Group and SEC registered investment advisor.